Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. It's our Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort. Now only $17.99 for our C2 mattress and base, plus free premium delivery. Price is higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
Parles-tu français? Hablas español? Parli italiano? If you've used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world. With lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers, Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Wondery. Spelled BABBEL.com/Wondery. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Well, welcome back to Gopher's Workshop. I'm your host, Aaron, and joining me, doing some things over there, is Chris.
I ain't doing shit.
So, Chris.
That's me.
Some stuff happened. Some things were done. And some people did things. We're going to talk about this today, right?
That's the vaguest you've ever been. All right. Okay, cool.
What's today's episode about?
Well, people have been talking about the World Championships, so I figured I would give my take on some of that and also point out some things that people seem to, in the conversations I've had, seem to have glossed over or not recognized per se. Not to say everyone doesn't see it, but you know. For starters, the World Championships are huge. And this year, they were in the States, which is a pretty big deal. Happy about that. A lot of times, I won't say like every year, right? But like a majority of the years, I feel like they were, even this year, I would say they're more European oriented than people give them credit for. Because we've talked many times about the European play style or meta is MSU or multiple small units.
Yep.
That's very prevalent over there. And in the World Championships in America, they obviously are going to get a bunch of Americans because it's way more convenient for them to just drive a couple of hours to play than it is to fly across, the planet and go do it wherever they put it over in Europe. So while it is more heavily American than the World Championships are if they were to be in Europe, Europeans are way more apt to travel, if we're just being honest, right? Like they get more vacation time than we do.
Oh, big time.
They're willing to travel for a tournament halfway across the world way more or in mass compared to what Americans would be. So this is all to say there was a lot of MSU style lists, and even the Americans who knew that there was going to be a lot of MSU lists and had, I'm going to argue, objectively better lists to deal with American style lists that they would have played at Nova or Adepticon or LVO or whatever. A lot of those guys adjusted their list knowing there was going to be so many more European style lists, MSU, at this event than normal. One of the best examples is the guy who won did an interview and specifically said, like, yeah, my list, it was an Adnic player. He's like, yeah, usually anytime I have a weapon option, I would probably take a las cannon over an autocannon. But specifically for this event, he's like, I switched almost all of my las cannons for autocannons because I knew there was going to be so many more like 5-man assault intercessors running around and 5-man, like, Eldar units and whatever else. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it's one of the things to keep in mind, because especially after the event is done and we're all looking at, this is the winning list and these are the guys that were like 5-1 and, like who did well. Keep in mind, most of those guys adjusted their list for that specific event. I'm not saying those lists are bad. They're objectively good. I mean, the guy won, right?
Yeah.
But even he will admit the minute he's not at Worlds and he goes back to LVO or
he's back
Nova,
to toughness busting.
Correct. He's immediately adjusting his list, not necessarily by units, but by war gear at least, to say this isn't enough tank busting to stay competitive in America, right? So, like, that is the number one thing to recognize, because as we, over the next 3-4 weeks, when everyone's talking about, like, well, I play Eldar and this was the winning list, and I play Dark Angels and this guy did really well, and I play, like, as you're looking at all those lists, keep in mind, maybe not like a big change, but almost every one of those lists that did well, they knew what they were going up against, and they probably made some adjustment based upon that.
So, a couple things I want to say before we go any further, and I'm gonna pat ourselves on the back here, because we already preemptively called out these things in episodes, so you can go back and listen to those episodes.
I don't know how to do my job. It's fine.
So, one episode we discussed knowing your meta.
Yeah.
And fighting and building lists into that meta, right?
Right.
We talked about your local meta. We talked about your competitive meta. This is what we're talking about right now. These players recognized what meta they were getting ready to fight into and adjusted their lists accordingly.
Yep.
So and there's that.
That's not to say that they're like reworked their list or made a new list, right? We're talking about
some just changed
war
guns.
Gear changes.
Yep.
We're talking about, like, I'm going to swap this one unit for these other two, or like we're minor changes, but those changes mattered. They mattered to the point to where in an interview, what did you do to, like, help you win this event? The first thing that came to mind for him, because it was so relevant, is like, man, I swapped out all my las cannons because MSU is a problem. Like, I wasn't going to be able to deal with it if I didn't. We
talked about knowing your meta. We also talked about what the difference between MSU and American lists really is. We talked about that in an episode way back at the very beginning of this podcast. All the way back when. And the answer is scoring points versus staying on the board is what it basically sums down to.
Yeah. I think it was just a couple episodes ago, I pointed out that, like, the European meta basically maxes out secondaries all the time. That's like a given for them, because MSU, I can throw a 5-man unit at guaranteeing I get the actions done.
Yep.
So, well, they're basically guaranteeing max secondary. They're fighting over primary. Who gets to keep enough OC on that objective to score at the beginning of the turn? Who puts enough units on that objective to, like, you don't kill both of them and I still score?
Yep.
The American meta, we are crazy good at primary, because it's like, no, I'm a tough unit and I've got Blade Guard with a 4-up invul and Judy, so you don't want to charge me, and you happen to be a World Eaters player. You have to gun me down. You better bring your Forge Fiends over here or you're going to have a bad day. Like, again, we can stand in circles all day, but we are fighting over secondary points. We have big, expensive units. We have things that are incredibly tough and incredibly killy, but then we kind of feel bad about, do I really want to spend a 250, 300 point unit on doing this action? They have so many guns. They could probably kill that unit off, or they could kill half of that unit so that the other half doesn't kill me when it charges me next turn.
Yep. Again, we're tough big guns, whereas the MSU lists are spam as much as I can to get the points. So again, we talked about that before. And the last thing we talked about, we talked about the difference between MSU and ours. We talked about the knowing your meta. We also discussed knowing your lists, so knowing your units.
Yeah.
We talked about that in a whole episode. Understanding what you have comparative to what other people have access to.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things are what made the winners and losers in Worlds.
Yes. And to be fair, let's say you wanted to go to Worlds, right?
Mm-hmm.
You decided you're going to go next year. Okay, cool. Keep in mind, a lot of these differences are the competitive edge when you're talking about, all right, we're in round 7 and we're in round 8. It's almost the end of the event. These minor war gear changes and list adjustments, these are going to be super prevalent in the last couple of rounds where you have the most competitive games. If you wanted to go and you're like, you know what? I'm looking to do like 5 and 3, right? The last 2 rounds, if I do super well in the beginning, that's awesome. But also the last 2 rounds where it's most competitive, I didn't make any adjustments for like the meta because I wasn't really sure what I was going to fight. I just knew that like I've practiced this list. I like this list. This is what I feel comfortable with. You can still do really well with that, but also, and there's nothing wrong with that too, by the way, like going 5 and 3 at Worlds. First off, good job. Like no complaints. You did great. But also like, again, you have to like be capable of doing the like 6 and 2. And then after you do 6 and 2, now I don't care how good you are. We have to acknowledge like minor list adjustments for the meta because it's going to be by the time you get to round 7. I don't care how good you are. All the other guys that are still undefeated in round 7, they're just as good as you. Yep. Like there's one guy out of that whole group that got really lucky. The rest of them are good players, right? No complaints. They're all incredibly, incredibly skilled. You have to make some list adjustments to gain a little advantage somewhere. At your regular events, right? So like putting all of this aside, at your regular events, you don't really need to adjust your list for your local RTT. It's 3 rounds. Like who knows who's showing up this week? Like again, you don't have to adjust your list for like, oh, but I need a competitive edge there. You can if you know like, hey, our whole meta is like Chaos Knights and Magnus and Mortarion and like it's all chaos all the time. Okay, you can make adjustments for that and that's reasonable, but also you don't have to. Mm-mm. We're talking about the most competitive edge of the competitive environment. Now we can all lie to ourselves and say we're that good. At that level, now all of these changes matter a lot. But again, this isn't about you making those changes.
Yep.
This is us trying to inform you of like, as you go to look at these lists, as presumably Americans listening to this, I know there's some others. I appreciate you guys too. But like as presumably fighting in the American meta,
yep,
you have to keep in mind that you can't just look at, well, this was the best Gene Stealer Cults player at Worlds. Clearly, this is the best Gene Stealer Cult list, and not think to yourself, what list adjustments did they make for Worlds that I shouldn't make because I'm not fighting into MSU? Or what list adjustments didn't they make for Worlds? And that explains why they're like 4 and 2
yep,
instead of, you know, higher.
So before we go any further, I wanna shout a thing out that we keep hinting at, that you've outright said, but I want to really get down to the nitty gritties of. Reminder, this is World Championship, okay? Yep. That means the entire world is fighting in here. Mm-hmm. And the thing you need to think about is when everybody says European meta, I need to remind you that Europeans are willing to travel. You already said this.
Yeah.
That means people from Spain, Russia, Germany, like you name anything that is not the US, they are more willing to travel to a UK tournament.
Mm-hmm.
They are more willing to travel to a German tournament. They're more willing to travel to all over the place because it's not that expensive. It's really not. I mean, I lived over there for, in comparative, I lived over there for 5 years, and for me to travel to Ireland from England, it was like $100.
Yeah,
that's it.
A crisp $20 bill and a high five.
Yeah, that's it. It's the same thing to like take the train from England to Germany. Like this.
Now, to kind of clarify here, though, this is the thing that I've been saying in the past is that if you just look at overall stats, like winning lists for GTs, like top 3 this last month. The fact that Europeans are so willing to travel, the fact that Europeans and their ability to travel makes them have way more events than the US has.
Yeah.
They're all smaller events for the most part, but way more events. This is why I keep saying that all of the meta, air quotes, is skewed.
Well, and what I'm getting at here is this is why MSU has such a wider range of influence.
Yeah.
Between the events being held in substantial quantities, the event goers being way higher, and the impact, because they're traveling, there's a much bigger impact in a lot of those even smaller metas of MSU is the priority. So when you go to Worlds, and all these people who are already throwing dollars at travel are like, we're all going to travel to go to play in this giant tournament, what do you think you're going to have? The most influential, arguably, playstyle is MSU.
Yeah.
Because of just sheer numbers.
Correct.
What do you think you're going to have? That's what we're getting at in this episode of MSU took the cake on this. Why? Let's face it. The most impactful meta is, in fact, MSU.
Yep. Because, again, if this, let's say Worlds was held in Germany, and who knows where it's going to be held next year,
right.
but let's just say Germany, right? Immediately, what's the percentage of total players that claim United States? Maybe 30% for lucky, right? Because travel's expensive. It's in the United States. Travel becomes very reasonable for us. Still not cheap, but very reasonable. Well, now what do you expect the percentage to be?
40, 50?
You're right. But the fact that it's still only like 50%,
exactly.
Even though it's like, no, if the world championships were in England and you said they're like 10% or 15% was English people, everyone would be like, okay, so this was by invitation? Like you prevented the English people who are literally down the road from showing up to your English event? The inventors
of this game?
What? That doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
The fact that it's in America, I mean, like it's Worlds, right? We want to pull in people from all over the world to make it a world event. We want that, right? But the fact that it's only 50% means that A, they did that very well, right? They convinced all the world to show up. But like, again, if Europeans weren't more willing to travel, this percentage should be very in the Americans' favor. And if it was like 70% American, okay, well now I don't really need to adjust my list for Worlds, right? Yeah. Like I'm already facing into the American meta. That's 70% of the meta. Like I'll take my Nova list. I'll take my, my LVO list. That's probably enough.
Yep.
One of the, I don't want to like name names here, but there's a handful of names that are, let's say, pro players. I'm going to air quote that. Like, people aren't making a living necessarily off playing tournaments anymore. Some of these guys technically are because they're like doing sponsored, and they're doing YouTube all related to 40K. And like, okay, arguably you're making your money off 40K. But as far as like the tournament winnings, people aren't living off this game. It's not an esport as it currently stands, right? So I'm going to air quotes pro player, but these guys' names are so well known, we're going to put them in that category. One of the examples is there was an Emperor's Children player, which before Worlds, basically the whole internet agreed. I mean, Reddit, even non-Reddit, like the internet kind of agreed. Emperor's Children are in a bad place. They're not very good, blah, 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 blah. He did extremely well. Now, again, he's like a pro player. We acknowledge he's an extremely good player, and he could leverage a lot of skill into bad units. But also, as a pro player who had like a real intent of winning, he didn't just show up to hang out and have a good time, right? He's going to Worlds. He wants to win. He is that kind of pro player. He still thought Emperor's Children was the best take. Why is that? Well, if we go back to my Emperor's Children review, you know what Emperor's Children are like perfectly geared to deal with?
MSU.
It's like I called it. And he saw it. And you know what? He absolutely, like, he lost some games. He didn't win outright. But also, he did extremely well. He was a very winning player. Also, you're right. He's like, why do I need to worry about, like, fighting the Americans? I'm a good player.
Yep.
If I can fight the Americans early, I can outskill them. Later, when it gets competitive, there's a over 50% chance that I'm going to go up against like an MSU style list. He took Emperor's Children because they deal with that extremely well. So again, all of this is kind of rolling around to, it's really cool to watch the World Championships. It's really cool to get excited about my faction did well, or man, did you see how many AdMech showed up, which is a whole thing we should go over too. But like, keep in mind, some of this, as far as us regular people are concerned, a real amount of this comes with a grain of salt, right? We cannot look at Worlds and just decide as Americans who only play in the Midwest at like not World style events that these lists are just gonna, if I start playing this guy's list, I'll just win. Like, that's not gonna happen. So, as I kind of alluded to, one of the things that seemed to take the internet by surprise, not me so much, and I'm not trying to like brag about that, but also I've mentioned this to a few people before. A lot of people were kind of taken by surprise by not only how many AdMech players showed up, but also how well they were doing. Man, is AdMech good. I've been saying this for a while. We have a collective memory that is surprisingly short and surprisingly long, but like the middle ground, the reasonable, like accurate memory that we have is kind of terrible. So long-term memory, we all remember when AdMech sucked this edition, and they objectively did. They were bad. I'm not arguing that. That is true. Since then, not only have they had a bunch of point changes, but they've also had a bunch of actual rule changes. They reworked whole data sheets. They reworked weapon stat lines for a couple of guys, like hard reworks across the board. They are in an incredibly good place. AdMech have two problems going against them. And the first is we all assume they're bad because we remember when we all agreed they were. The second issue they have, and I think this is a big driving factor of why even after they got better, people didn't notice at first. Jumping from faction to faction is somewhat doable in this game, but also it's expensive. In addition to it being expensive, you're talking about AdMech, which is the most expensive one. So jumping in and out of AdMech, that takes real dollars. So I think that has surprised people because they remember it was bad, so they kind of wrote them off. For the pro players, where they are willing to spend real dollars on, but I want to win Worlds. Like, how great would it be if once in my life, I was the number one guy, I got to hold the cool trophy, I won Worlds. They're going for that, which means they're willing to spend some extra dollars. And when you're willing to spend those extra dollars, now it's really hard to say that AdMech are bad, because they're not. They're objectively good. And Worlds showed that. Again, did their war gear change slightly because they were trying to go into MSU? Did they adjust their list slightly? Absolutely they did. But also, you can swap all your autocannons back to las cannons, and that list is still solid, right? So I'm not sure how much we can really say about that without going into a codex review sort of thing. But don't write factions off. I would say you can even go down to the unit level. How many times have we talked about like, oh man, you remember when Whirlwinds were good and then they got nerfed into the ground? Sure, that might be true, but also go back and revisit them. Check on them. Hey, have they gotten better? Are they still as bad as I remember? Like, just remembering that they're bad now is not enough to write them off forever. All right, so one last thing I think we should go over before we do a break is when looking at Worlds, I also want to point out, if you're looking at win rates, I've said many times that I hate judging things by win rates because they're so easy to skew. Keep an eye on the fact that win rates are always going to be skewed up a little bit. The reason this is true is because people quit early, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, I lost 2 games. There's no way I could be in the top half. I'll just give up now. At Worlds, arguably, it's slightly less likely because you spent $1 bucket to be there. But also, when they do like top cuts after 4 rounds and they go to like the, bracket or whatever, here's a real number of people that dropped off. There are people who like signed in, did 3 games or 2 games, and then stopped playing. Those people, I'm not saying that like, hey, you got to keep playing, suffer through, but also when you go to look at win rates, there's a real argument to they're skewing the numbers, right? The fact that they didn't keep playing, even if they kept losing, at least that would like help make the win rates more accurate. The fact that if they kept playing, they would have won some, presumably when they got to like an appropriate skill level to help balance out their strictly negative win rate that, of the 2 games they played before they decided to quit. Win rates are so easy to skew. Look at lists. You can totally acknowledge that these are like the 5 or the not 5 ones. These are like 7 ones and these are the 6 2s and they did good. So I'm showing up, with a bunch of Admech and a bunch of Eldar and those things are good. Cool. I'm not going to argue that. If you're going to look at win rates and like, oh man, look how bad this faction is, or look how good this faction is. Orcs are way better than people thought they were. Okay. I'm not saying that isn't true, but also how many of those players only played some of their games? How many of those players didn't give you all the information because they just stopped playing? I understand there's an argument to, if they didn't play a game and they dropped, it doesn't technically change the win rates. It would only change the win rates if they like stayed in the system and auto lost. But I'm saying the game is somewhat random, right? If I lose 2 in a row and they're the first 2 versus I lost 2 games over the course of the whole tournament and the 2 losses were at the end, one of those situations, I have a really good win rate. And the other one, I have a terrible win rate. But if I get demoralized early and I drop, it's not the same as if I get demoralized late and play through. Again, none of this is to harp on any faction. None of this is to give people guff for dropping. This is just in mind of when we're going back and reviewing the lists and the factions and the stats of the World Championships. We have to take those numbers and put them into a reasonable perspective. You cannot just take raw numbers and treat them as gospel.
All right. Well, with that being said, I think it's time for us to shift to our mid-break. And when we come back, what are we talking about, Chris, when we come back from our mid-break?
Oh, I got some hot takes, I think. I'm gonna give people a hard time.
Bazinga. Let's go to our mid-break. Hey, Chris.
Yes.
It's the middle of the episode. Pay no attention. Anyway, what do we do in the middle of the episode?
Why are you so special?
I'm just your special little boy, Chris. Special little boy. Anyway, middle episode. What are we doing?
Do you think the stork takes returns?
No, my mom tried many a times. Chris, what are we doing? Tell me answer my question.
Start with Patreon.
Patron. I don't even do the thing anymore. You're a letdown. Anyway, you know who's not a letdown? Our patrons. So let's start with our Guardsman patron, Matt's Mini Minute. Sergeant Matt's Mini Minute. Forgot that. I know my place. White Shield Guardsman patrons are next, starting with Mitch, Nicodemus, and Taburus. 10-14. I don't know. I'm just saying things at this point. He told me to mess his name up.
You are real struggling with that.
Finally, we have to thank our Servo Skull patron, Captain Beefalo. So thank you to our patrons. We love you. You're the best. Thanks for tolerating me.
Someone has to, because I'm about ready to not.
Oof. The worst part is he says that with a smile on his face, but he's serious.
Not tolerating you would probably be the best part of my day. Also, I'm not allowed to have fun, so I'm going to keep tolerating you.
Well, thank you to our patrons, and thank you to our listeners, because without you, we wouldn't have a show. We're just talking to ourselves, which I do half the time anyway, so.
That's true.
Thanks for making half the time purposeful. Speaking of purposeful, Chris, what do we got for the mid-break? What's the announcement?
So this week we've got Christmas Battle Forces going up. We haven't gotten our allocations yet, so I can't say we've got a ton. I assume we're going to have not a ton. We have a bunch of special orders, which is great. I super appreciate you guys for doing that. That helps us out. But also, I don't know what allocations are going to be, but I can already tell you Christmas boxes are never in a great place. And get them while you can. Ours are obviously 15% off. Feel free to check our website. We're happy to help if we can. But again, I don't know what our allocations are going to be. I assume not good, kind of across the board. Especially the Space Marine box. Obviously, it's going to be the most requested box this year by a long shot. And a lot of that has to do with, usually in other years, there's like a couple of Space Marine boxes. Like here's a Space Marine and here's a Dark Angel, or here's a, you get a couple of those, and that helps kind of spread out the love a bit. Since there's only one Space Marine this year, that one's going to go fast. So get on it while you can. Beyond that, we should have a little bit of everything. Again, I don't know how long they're going to last, but we'll have a little bit of everything. And then I think that's all that's really going up for this week. We still have plenty of extra stock for the Ultramarines release that we just had. Blood Bowl is coming out this week. I've still got a little bit of that stuff left. But again, everything on our website's 15% off for GW. If there's anything you're looking for that we don't have, shoot me an email. I'll still get you taken care of. And we appreciate your patronage.
Well, all that being said, I think that's it. I think that's all we got for the mid-break, right? It's pretty quick and easy. Well, then let's get to the last part of our episode. All right, Chris, here we are. Last part of the episode. You said you were giving us some hot ass takes.
There was no ass takes involved.
Damn.
So we've been talking about the WCW lists, as well as, I'm going to say in general, competitive lists that we've been seeing. But there's a couple of, let's say, units I take issue with. I'm going to start by going Space Marines. This is not because they're getting more love than everyone else. It's because Space Marines are the most played faction. In addition to that, even if you're not a Space Marine player, Space Marines are probably your most played opponent, assuming you're getting like a real amount of games in with people other than your best friend. So
first you have to have one of those, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So again, I think it's most relevant to start with Space Marines, and I'm just going to tackle a couple of units that feel pretty relevant to the list that I've been viewing on WCW. If this is something that you guys like and enjoy and want me to go more in depth in, whether it's Space Marines or some other faction, let us know, comment or whatever to let us know that's something you're interested in. I could probably do this, once a month or once a quarter or something, just to kind of dig into a faction and kind of give you some hot takes of mine. But again, we're just going to start with a couple of units that showed up, I'm going to say, way too much at WCW. Some of these make sense. Some of these I kind of hate.
Scouts.
Yes, but Scouts have a place. I rarely play Scouts because I think there are better options for the points, but I don't technically have a problem with Scouts. Scouts have a place. Things that I don't know have a place. Let me start by saying some of these are sub-faction specific, like, again, Ultramarines, almost 50%, or closer to a third, I guess, but way more than a third of all Space Marine lists that were played at WCW were Ultramarines. Okay, so if your list has double oath on top of all the other nonsense that Space Marines have, why are we playing Incursors? Incursors shoot at a thing and give other things shooting at that +1 to hit. You already have double oath. You're already re-rolling to hit. Re-rolling 3s to hit versus re-rolling 2s to hit. Why?
Why?
Like, Incursors don't have good guns. They have, like, not even intercessor level bolters. They just have less than good bolters. They've got the mines. You know what? I kind of like the mines. That's pretty solid. I don't mind the +1 to hit if you're playing other Marine factions, but that's because other Marine factions don't get double oath. Again, I don't think the unit's bad, but also when I see like 2 or 3 Incursor units in an Ultramarine list, why? I will give you an objectively alternate / better option. You could just play Reavers. Reavers create battle shock tests, so you can start out OCing people with an 80-point unit. You can, again, Reavers have the ability to deep strike. They have the ability to scout, just like Incursors. Like, you have options where Incursors are not that different in points, and there's so much about them that is objectively better. I'm not saying Incursors are bad. Again, you're playing Blood Angels. You're playing Death Watch. I have no problem with you playing Incursors. I think it's a good unit. Are you going to spam 3 of them? I really hope not.
Yeah.
But then you're going to tell me that not only you spam 3 of them, but you did it with Gilliman, so you have double oath? I don't understand. That's so much redundancy that it's just inefficient. Similar argument. No, okay, no, let me back up. Before I get to the next unit, I need to make a caveat. WCW did have a rules cutoff, right? So there are some things that we have talked about or are theoretically playable at the time that you're listening to this that were not playable by them, period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ultramarines, for example, they did not have Victrix Guard, right? That's about to come out. We just got the data sheet like today. I'm not arguing that why weren't you playing Victrix Guard? However, I have had kind of a bone to pick with Company Heroes for quite a while. First off, Company Heroes wasn't awful, but it for sure wasn't good. And then we got ICC for Dark Angels, which is in effect Company Heroes mixed with Blade Guard and objectively better than Company Heroes in every way. Okay. Then like wolves, we got the head takers. Okay, less company heroes, more blade guard, but also why in the world would I ever take company heroes? Okay, so then you like Victrix Guard, that's coming out now. Company heroes was primarily and almost exclusively taken for Calgar.
You're right.
Now that we have Victrix Guard, why is GW even selling company heroes?
You think they're asking themselves that right now?
I sure hope so. Because you know what the honest answer is? I will still stock company heroes. You know why? It's not because you should play company heroes. Please don't. I am saying company heroes is worth stocking for the sole purpose of I could buy a $50 to $60 box. I could break it apart and have 4 to 5 characters. When normally those characters are $30 to $50 a piece. That's what Company Heroes is. It is a discount box set like Combat Patrol for 4 or 5 characters with some extra cool bits that are fairly unique. That's it. That's the only reason to buy a Company Heroes box. And to be fair, for the purpose of purchasing, still valuable. No complaints. As far as playing on the table, now that we have Victrix Guard, now that we have ICC, as we continue to get these faction specialty units that are objectively company heroes with a twist, and that twist objectively makes them better because company heroes is barely playable as is, I have no idea why GW is still producing this box. The only argument that I can possibly think of is they're going to reduce its points cost in order to make it somewhat playable. And as we roll into 11th edition / Space Marine Codex 2.0, they're going to rework the datasheet to make it do something, literally anything of relevance. When Company Heroes was the only option, I didn't like it, but there was an argument too. It was cheap enough. It had a defensive ability. It was kind of worth keeping one character alive because that character was so important. I didn't want to spend points on protecting him, but I had to. And this was okay. We saw it in Dark Angels. We saw it in Ultramarines, obviously. Some people tried to do it with other characters, but again, Company Heroes is bad. I cannot stress for its points, it does nothing other than count as extra wounds. For the same number of points, why not take one of several other units? You could take Blade Guard and have bodyguards with an invul. You could take basic intercessors or basic assault intercessors. And it turns out you just get more wounds per point. Yeah, you don't get the -1 to wound, but I'll trade a -1 to wound for you need 6 more dice before you're allowed to roll a die against my character. Because that's effectively what damage breaks do.
Yeah.
Again, I have no idea why Company Heroes is being played. I understand people are going to be upset about that because some people are still playing them, because some people are looking at WCW and saying, but look how well these Ultramarines lists did with Company Heroes. I get it. And you know what?
They would have done just as well, if not better, maybe, if they had taken the Blade Guard.
That's my argument. That being said, Ultramarines specifically, I think the argument is effectively moot because even if you disagree with me, and you are more than welcome to disagree with me, even if you disagree with me, now that you have Victrix Guard, which WCW did not, why would an Ultramarines player ever play Company Heroes? Calgar or no Calgar? Why would you ever do that when Victrix Guard is objectively better? It literally has, with technically a restriction, but not really, it has the exact same rule as Company Heroes. But in addition to that, they're 2 up armor. They have 4 wounds, an infantry model, I would like to point out, which is crazy in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have Blade Guard stat lines, but better. Victrix Guard are better in every way. There is no argument. And their points cost, I would like to point out, for 3 compared to 4 models, not that different. Sure, you're losing a model, but also all 3 of your models instead of 4 objectively do something that matters. I'll take that almost any day. Right?
The moral of the story is it doesn't matter realistically what Space Marine detachment or faction you're playing. Company Heroes is basically moot at this point.
They're phasing it out slowly, but also it was like, again, so barely good when it first released.
It didn't take much to make it bad.
Correct.
Or shall we say not bad? It didn't take much to make it not the optimal choice.
Yeah. Because again, the minute ICC came out, there was Dark Angels lists that were using Company Heroes. But the minute ICC released, the question is, why would I ever pay for Company Heroes when I have ICC? Then you go to, again, like Ultramarines with Victrix Guard. You could make some arguments for Space Wolves with Head Takers. And I would, but I acknowledge that it's not exactly the same thing. They're more Blade Guard oriented than Company Heroes.
It's the fact of the matter is, specifically for this unit, it has been a long time coming that the phase out has been in process. The phase out is now here. It is time to acknowledge it.
Yep. And the crazy part is the Company Heroes kit is not that old.
No.
GW put it out, and within a year, it feels kind of irrelevant.
Now, what I will say is we have the new 500 rules on the horizon. And there's a real argument to maybe Company Heroes can become something useful again with the new edition. Maybe?
The answer is always maybe, right? There's always a potential for a points change, a datasheet update, whatever. There is nothing that is technically unplayable, period, right? Because changes can be made at any time. Now, if we go into what is likely to be relevant,
Yeah.
I wish 500 Worlds could had an option to make Company Heroes relevant. I think it is more likely that Ultramarines are going to get a second version of Company Heroes with all of the named guys
dropped in one,
and it's just, again, why would I play Company Heroes?
I hear a lot of people on the other end already screaming, well, yeah, but, and you know what? Yeah, there's a lot of yeah, but situations. I have even counter-argued you on multiple situations of a yeah, but, and you've even, you know what? You're right. If that's what you want to do, is always the answer. Anytime I yeah, but you. So to sum it all up, to answer the yeah, buts, yeah, if it's what you want to do, we're not telling you can't do it.
Sure.
We're telling you that if you want it to be the optimal choice, you're going to have to put in some real amount of work.
And again, I don't have a problem with the models themselves. I think it's an objectively a good buy. If you don't own Company Heroes before the kit goes away and gets phased out, you should go buy one. Because again, you are spending $50 on 4 to 5 character models. Because you get extra war gear bits and stuff like that. So you can absolutely pay for a character and a half to get 4+ characters. That's a hell of a buy, right? Even if we say one of the free characters is the ancient that you're never going to use, so you just chuck him straight into the garbage. You still get 3 totally playable characters for half cost. It's still a good buy. I still like the box. The models are unique. They have extra unique war gear bits, and they have options, and no complaints. Also, Company Heroes, the data sheet, I don't like it. So now here's a question. Wait, we've spent a little time, gone over a couple of hot takes. I have more. I already have a whole list. We don't have enough time to go over the whole list.
Yeah, no.
How much do we want to just enrage the listeners? Do we do one more? Are we content and see if they enjoy my stupid takes?
I think we give them one more. I think we do one more.
All right. Well, let me dig a little deeper. We're gonna. This is. If you're ready for backlash, I've got it for you right here.
God, I hate you.
Specifically, 5-man JPI.
Oh, you're
way overused.
Dumb.
Way overused.
For what? The same amount you could. Nope. All right, you got.
It's not even the same amount. That's the part that's crazy to me. Okay, there are times where 5-man JPI makes sense. Okay.
Fair enough.
There are two different times I can think of to where if you're running a 5-man JPI, I won't tell you you're dumb. But also, if it's not those two times,
we're not going to tell you you're dumb anyway. That's a dick move.
I'm going to really try not to. 5-man JPI are 90 points. Okay. For 75 points, you can get a 3-man suppressor. And if the purpose of taking a 5-man JPI was to hold objectives because they're fast and mobile, so are suppressors. If the purpose was to be a cheap unit to do actions so you don't feel bad doing actions, suppressors are cheaper. If the purpose was, but I want a unit with deep strike so that on turn 2 I can get behind enemy lines, so do suppressors. Again, all of this is true, and suppressors are still 15 points cheaper. They have a smaller footprint for the purposes of deep striking. They have more places to deep strike. For the purposes of working their way up the board, trying to use cover, they're again a smaller footprint, which means they stay out of the way of your other units that are also trying to use that cover. It means that even when the enemy is trying to get around you and see past the cover, the smaller footprint means they're less likely to do so if you're using terrain correctly. And then you want to make the claim of, but I like JPI because I might be able to throw some mortal wounds at something. I hear you. Also, you know who's way more likely to kill, let's say 2 or 3 Marines because they expose themselves? Like it's a 5-man assault intercessor, go grab the objective, do an action. You know who's way more likely to kill by accident that whole 5-man or even part of the 5-man?
3 damage, 9 shot.
What, 2 damage. They're 2 damage.
Oh, the 2 damage. Okay, I apologize.
But again, 3 shots apiece.
9 shots total.
9 shots. Strength 8, which means they're winning on 2s against T4.
AP1.
AP1, that's not great. Also, I'm fine with it because we're 75 points. And then they're flat 2 damage apiece. You want to kill Marines because they're a cheap unit that they exposed? Like,
yep.
So help me if it's Scout Marines. Can JPI, 5-man JPI, kill 5 scouts?
With
potentially.
Guns.
Yep.
With
sure.
guns.
Sure. Like, I mean, again, mortal wounds plus the chain swords. You get to swing first. You've got the one guy with a power fist.
Yeah, but the thing is, okay,
no, they probably do it
where you're at.
You're right, but that's the whole point, right?
You don't have to.
Suppressors. Do you know what the range on their gun
48 inches.
You're right. Do you want to not be in the way and still go all the way across the board and say, you know how you've properly screened out so that I can't hurt that tank? You're trying to guarantee that the gladiator gets to wallop my dreadnought next turn or something like that. You're right. You know what JPI are going to do that? Nothing. Not a thing. I can't get over there fast enough. Or even if I make it there, you're just going to shoot out of combat with best case scenario.
A -1.
A -1. You know what suppressors do? Like 100% of the time, because they have to do 0 damage. They only have to hit a single time to give it -1 to hit. And then it's not even -1 to hit in the shooting phase like it is for being engaged.
All the time.
It's all the time, which means you can give it -1 to hit even in the combat that you're about to charge it with.
You know what's really annoying to do to a Knights player?
how many times have we talked about how powerful Fights First is?
You're right.
Yeah, but what if I suppress them and then charge Judy and friends? Is it still going to suck? Yeah. But does 16% of that Blade Guard and Judy unit just disappear into the ether despite you getting to swing first? Yeah. And that might just be enough that I get to crack back with my Dreadnought and just crush somebody. Suppressors are objectively better. Now, I did give examples of 5-man JPI are good, right? If you already have 3-man suppressors, you are not allowed to take more suppressors. Now, if you're like, you know what? I'm playing an MSU list and I could use another mobile objective grabber. Now, if you take a 5-man JPI, you know what? I'm not mad about it. I still like Vanguard Vets better for the purposes of action, but I acknowledge that JPI have a better damage output than Vanguard Vets because of the mortal wounds.
You exchange your damage output for survivability.
Yep, because again, Storm Shields on the Vanguard Vets is amazing. For a few extra points, a whole 5, look out. Having Storm Shields and a 4-up invul for the purposes of doing actions, holding objectives, etc., I would much rather have Vanguard Vets.
You're right.
I still don't like 5-man JPI. But if the argument is, but I want the damage output because I'm going to go charge the 5-man Assault Intercessor that's sitting on the objective, and I need to trade up to the point of where like I steal the objective away, I get the idea of the 5-man JPI.
I'm gonna throw a second one out here. If you have a character that needs support, a 5-man JPI is good.
What character wouldn't you?
You wouldn't take.
You wouldn't take a 5-man
argument.
for the character support.
Absolutely, I would. He's the delivery. They're the delivery system. I don't care about them. They're the wounds to get Dante there.
Yeah, but even then, by the time you're investing that much, I feel like you're still probably running a 10-man.
No. As a person who's done this, I will tell you what happens with the 10-man is Dante feels useless, and you might as well take a chaplain at that point because he really isn't getting to swing much.
Sure.
If you're taking a 5-man, now Dante feels useful because he makes up for what the 10-man lost.
Sure.
So now, if you're looking for a small footprint but same output of damage, now Dante and 5-man JPI seem reasonable. Yes, you're losing your mortal wounds, but what you're losing in mortal wounds, you're gaining in your attack, your actual damage output.
Sure.
So this is one circumstance where I would argue a 5-man JPI, and you could sit here and argue, yeah, but even then, Vanguard Vets with the 4-up, and you're fine. You know what? You're right. For 5 more points, I can get Vanguard. But again, we can make that argument all day.
Right.
5-man Vanguard. If you don't have the points to spend, a nice 5-man JPI unit to deliver Dante is fine.
Sure. But if you don't have the points to spend, the real question is, why didn't you go down to suppressors and just have way more points?
If you were dead set on having Dante.
You're right. There are other scenarios, right? Yeah. Like I say there's 2. Technically there's more.
There's a lot.
But there's like 2 main ones.
Yeah.
Right now, the big hubbub is Raven Guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're taking Shrike and he says JPI units are OC2. You know what? You got a fair point, man. Like a 5-man JPI compared to a 5-man Vanguard Vets, JPI are OC2 apiece. Yeah, they lose some durability, but when you lose 2 of those JPI that you, in theory, wouldn't have lost with the Vanguard Vets, but they're still out OCing the Vanguard Vets. Okay, you got a point, right? Like I can't argue. That makes some amount of logic. And for that reason alone, I'm not going to give you a hard time.
Yeah.
But also, when you have 0 suppressors, when you're not playing Raven Guard, because you're like a Salamander's list, and you throw in a 5-man JPI because the internet said, well, this is a good objective grabbing unit. I'm not saying it's a bad objective grabbing unit, but I'm saying competitively, there's no objectively a better one. So why not? You know, the main reason why you don't see a ton of suppressors on the internet, it's because they're hard to get a hold of, the official models. I'm going to tell you right now, who cares? I'm not telling you got to go 3D print them. I'm saying GW specific. Like you want to go to Worlds. I'll tell you right now, I have suppressors that are JPI models. I bought a box of JPI. I got the autocannon upgrade from Horus Heresy, and I made suppressors. I made 3x3 for way cheaper than I could buy suppressors because they're in the Vanguard box. Even when suppressors come out standalone, if they ever do, there's a real argument of I still saved money. Because in addition to those 3x3 suppressors, I still had an extra model. So I got to make an extra jump captain or an extra jump chaplain for the same cost instead of spending an extra $45 on the new jump captain. I'm not saying there is no place for 5-man JPI. I am saying realistically, when it comes to 5-man JPI, they are used before suppressors are used, and almost every argument for why that happens is illogical because people have not considered suppressors. Now, that being said, there is some lists at WCW that use suppressors, and they used them effectively. There was a Deathwatch player. Again, Deathwatch before WCW, people were arguing it got like nerfed and it's less good and whatever else. It was never bad. Deathwatch are just fine. Okay. But also, he was using suppressors. And you know what? He did pretty good. I mean, he didn't win it outright, but also he was no slouch. He did very good.
I witnessed it firsthand. Suppressors can take a good list and make it better because of the 16% increase in durability they give alone. We're not even talking about the point scoring they can do, because I score an awful lot of points with just setting my butt on an objective and going, I don't have to move.
Terraform. I understand that's one mission, right? But if you're going to throw away a unit turn 1 to do an action terraform, that's straight victory points. If I'm playing Marines, whether I've got an ATV or I've got a 5-man JPI or name a unit, I'm going to do some actions turn 1 for terraform, because if I can terraform, that not only means that I'm earning points, but that also forces my opponent to an action to turn it off, or they're gifting me those points. Mm-hmm. So if they do the action that's reducing their damage output, that's amazing. I'm going to do that. Now, the question is, would you rather do that with a 90-point unit or a 75-point unit? They're both 12-inch move. They both have fly keyword. They both are infantry, so they can walk through walls. Because there's an argument to an ATV is cheaper, but is it as fast? It has to go around walls. It can't make a direct line sometimes. There's reasons why maybe the ATV can't do it. The suppressors for sure can. They can objectively get onto the objective, do the action, and then on top of them being cheaper and equally as fast, again, they're a smaller footprint, which means it's even easier to where you might be able to hug the template and make it to where they don't just get wiped off the board. Sure, they have less OC, but if your opponent's trying to out OC you, the difference between 3 OC and 5 OC, it's not that much. Again, I'm not saying they're untakeable, just like I'm not saying incursors are untakeable, but also these are 3 units that I think are way overtaken. Now everyone can yell at me in the comments.
Oh my God. Well, that being said, I think this brings us to the last part of our episode. You got anything else you want to say, Chris?
Not for this week. Again, if you enjoyed, whether positively or negatively, my take on these units and things like that, if you want more of that, whether it's Marines, because again, I've got a whole list here of things that I love that other people don't, other things that I hate and other people don't. I can do that in a later episode. Let me know if that's what you want. I'm happy to also do other factions. Marines, again, is the obvious first choice. It does not need to be the only choice. If you want me to go through Tau or go through Votan or whatever else, I can do that. Just let me know if that's something that interests you guys. If not, then obviously I can find plenty of other things to talk about in the wide world of Warhammer.
Well, on that note, that's it for this episode. So thank you all for listening. Tune in next week. Hey, everybody. It's Aaron. I want to thank you again for tuning in for this episode of Gopher's Workshop with us, hanging out and listening. Remember, leave a 5-star review. Let us know what you think. And if you feel like supporting us, you can always go to Patreon in the show notes below. Thanks. Till next time.
Shopify's point of sale system helps you sell at every stage of your business. Need a fast and secure way to take payments in person? We've got you covered. How about card readers you can rely on anywhere you sell?
Thanks. Have a good one.
Yep, that too. Want one place to manage all your online and in-person sales? That's kind of our thing. Wherever you sell, businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial at shopify.com/listen. Shopify.com/listen.